Spider-Man Brand New Day is busting all of the projections and the expectations out there with a near $1 billion opening weekend and then an astonishing performance on both Monday and Tuesday this week, day 4 and 5 for its box office run, not only here in the U.S. and Canada, but overseas as well. And at this point, it's looking almost a certainty that within the next week, Spider-Man will be breaching the $2 billion threshold and still has plenty of room to run. The numbers don't lie, and we're going to go through them all right here, including the bit of a surprise that we got from IMAX in the last few days, looking like they are going to turn the screens over to the web slinger as opposed to Chris Nolan's The Odyssey. And let's talk about what impact that's going to have on that film as well. Let's get into it. All right, kids, welcome back. Do the like and the subscribe and all that fun stuff. We appreciate you being here, all the new subscribers that have shown up in the last couple of weeks. We've been covering the summer box office. Let's talk about Spider-Man once again, because even without a proper inflationary adjustment, this is still one hell of a historic run here. Spider-Man Brand New Day swings to a $42 million Tuesday. That's day 5 for the box office run. $42 million at the domestic box office on day 5 is bonkers. A box office record and the biggest pick global year to date with $1.1 billion. From Anthony D'Alessandro, this was following a $40-some-odd million Monday as well, which then was topped off with another $60 million or so from the international markets, and I suspect the Tuesday numbers are something similar. Spider-Man Brand New Day's U.S. and Canada Tuesday beats that of Sony Marvel's own Spider-Man Far From Home, which banked $39.2 million for its opening Tuesday back in 2019. And, of course, adjust that figure up probably a good 35 to 40%. And, again, granted, it still doesn't take away the prowess and the performance of Brand New Day here for Far From Home. The domestic running cume through 5 days for Brand New Day is $449 million, making it the second highest grossing stateside in 2026 for now. It will soon topple Toy Story 5, which as of Wednesday has a running cume of $464. This weekend, Brand New Day could be looking at a record second frame at the box office. If it eases 60%, to $144 million, it will be the third best sophomore frame ever, with the top frame belonging to Star Wars The Force Awakens. That was back in 2015 with $149.2 million, and Avengers Endgame with $147 in 2019. Again, proper inflationary adjustments, we're talking about a 40+% ticket price increase on average since Star Wars The Force Awakens. We've talked about this time and time again. The average standard screen in the evening right now in a pretty average area of America is about $16. A premium large format screen is about $19. If you're going to IMAX this weekend to see Spider-Man, it's going to be comfortably north of $20. Endgame and Force Awakens had ticket prices that were far lower than that. A PLF for The Force Awakens, probably somewhere around $12 even back then. So you've got to take that into account. But again, given the amount of money that this movie is generating and that we've only had really one or two others like it since the COVID era ended and we got into this post-COVID era, it's really something to behold. The data breakdown on the numbers currently has the domestic box office populated through Tuesday at $449 million, but the international box office is only through the end of business on Monday. I don't believe the Tuesday numbers have been updated to this yet. Currently standing at $1.15 billion. Maybe throw another $50 million in there for the Tuesday international, putting it at about $1.2 billion. And then, of course, we've got Wednesday, whose figures are not yet in as of the time that I'm recording this. It's probably safe to assume at least another $75 million on top of that. We may be getting close to $1.3 billion before we've started Thursday's box office and, of course, the next weekend. But let's talk about the second weekend numbers and what's going on with Spider-Man because, again, we got a bit of a surprise with IMAX pulling the Odyssey out a week or two before they anticipated because they frankly couldn't resist the massive money machine that is this guy.
If I were a rich man.
I pulled up a local suburban theater in my area, and I want to kind of call everybody's attention to this. This is an IMAX screen. You can see here, this is Friday. I've gone ahead to Friday to see, are we sharing screens with the Odyssey, or is Spider-Man going to consume them in its entirety? Well, the answer is the latter. 12:15, 3:30, 6:45 p.m., and 10 p.m. on Friday in IMAX for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Also, 3D screenings at 11:30, 2:45, 6, and 9:15, and a whole slew of standard screen showings. I mean, there's basically, do the math here. You've got a 3D screen, you've got an IMAX screen, and you have at least 3 standard screens, if not 4, right there. Look at the start times. 10:15, 10:45, 11:15, and 11:45, 12:40. There are so many screens that are being turned over to Spider-Man, it's not funny. Let's look at the Odyssey. The Odyssey is going to be at this same theater with multiple PLFs, including an IMAX screen, now only available on the standard screens. 10:30, 12:30, 2:15, 4:15. It looks like they've got 2 screens set up for the Odyssey, considering its 3-hour runtime. So this theater is basically going to be Spidey and Odyssey this weekend. But we have to take into account the loss of those 400 to 500 IMAX screens, what kind of impact that's going to have on the Odyssey. Now, to be abundantly clear, we're talking about standard IMAX screens, if there is such a thing. Kind of putting standard and IMAX together seems a bit of an oxymoron, but you get my point. We're not talking about the 70-millimeter film IMAX screens. And, of course, there may be certain digital IMAX screens out there that will retain their viewership of the Odyssey, or at least share it with Spider-Man. I'm pulling up one anecdotal example that is in my area, but I can almost promise you, if I were to pull up every IMAX screen in the country, what I just showed you is probably not the exception, but is itself the rule. But let us not just look upon Deadline for projections here. A slightly rosier picture from our buddy Sean Robbins over at Box Office Theory, formerly of Box Office Pro. We're proud to be a financial supporter and subscriber on his Substack. So, Sean, thanks for all of your absolutely fantastic and outstanding work on this. Box Office Weekend Forecast, Spider-Man Brand New Day, 142 to 160 million. Remember, Deadline's figure was pegged at around, if it drops 60%, it would be 144 million. This figure targets a potential best-ever second frame after the 360 million record launch. After naively forgetting to add a qualifying probably inside the phrasing, the all-time record of 402 million is out of reach in last week's forecast. Spider-Man Brand New Day is a lesson relearned that anything can happen. And what Sean is talking about here is the overall domestic box office haul. 402 million was the previous record that was eclipsed between Spider-Man and the Odyssey in particular, with 436.6 million last weekend total at the North American box office. With very little direct competition this week, plus the addition of a yet unconfirmed number of IMAX screens and showtimes alongside strong word of mouth, Brand New Day has a considerable shot at besting Star Wars The Force Awakens' 149.2 million all-time record second weekend.
I got a really good feeling about this.
I'm going to go ahead and put it on the line now and say that it's 90% chance that Spider-Man is going to blow past the Avengers Endgame second weekend record, the Star Wars Force Awakens second weekend record, albeit once again, obviously, unadjusted for proper inflation. Again, we'll throw that aside for a minute because, again, beating those kind of numbers less than 10 years apart, or a little over 10 years apart in the case of Star Wars, is still something that is phenomenal, especially in this day and age when very, very few movies have reached the billion-dollar threshold since the COVID era. Think about 2019, the year that Avengers Endgame came out. I think there was 6 or 7 movies that hit and surpassed the billion-dollar mark. We haven't had that again, and Spider-Man is doing this in spectacular fashion, not just reaching it, but blasting past it in just a couple of days, 4 or 5 days. Meanwhile, Nolan's The Odyssey should continue its stellar run after easing just 43% against the Marvel behemoth last weekend. And let's look at the specifics on the numbers here that Sean is considering. Spider-Man Brand New Day with a midpoint forecast of $152 million. He's basically suggesting a 58% decline from the opening weekend. Now, if you guys have heard me talk about second weekend fall-offs and collapses, especially when it comes to Marvel movies, you know that I've said a million times that basically anything that comes in the mid to low 50% range is what we'd consider a pretty comfortable or average hold into the second weekend. Anything that starts going 60% or over shows a pretty sharp drop and some at least some considerable front loading. And of course, we've seen some go way past that with 70 and nearly 80% drops into the second weekend. Of course, if you're Brie Larson in a really bad Marvel's sequel, that's one of them for sure. But in this case, looking at Spider-Man Brand New Day, with the addition of the IMAX screens, that may prompt people that have already seen it to go see it again in IMAX just to go see it in IMAX. I'm really curious to see how this is going to go. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Spider-Man is going to have a 30 or 40% fall off into the second week, and I think it's going to be sharper than that, but I don't know if it's going to be as high as 60%. It could be, but I might be a little surprised at this point, especially with the addition of these brand new premium screens. But we have to wait and see. The weekday holds for this have been incredibly strong with Spider-Man, so that's what's making the second weekend a little bit more tepid to try to figure out to see, are people going to go see this once and be done with it, or are they going to go back? The Odyssey having a suggested 28% decline from the previous weekend. Also, I'm kind of curious about that one because with the loss of its principal delivery system, that being IMAX, again, on a yet unconfirmed number of screens, but if we were to extrapolate the anecdotal example I just shared, it looks like that the Odyssey is going to lose most, if not all, of the non-70 millimeter screen times for the Odyssey this coming weekend, making that drop probably more precipitous, more sharp than 28%, maybe 40 or 50% again. I just don't know. No matter how you slice it, these Monday and Tuesday numbers are absolutely astonishing. A 47% drop into a Monday that still turned in $47 million. Off a weekend of $360 million. Off a Sunday of $88 million for Spider-Man Brand New Day. And a discount Tuesday of $42 million. The Tuesday didn't even have the advantage of getting a pop like many movies do on Discount Tuesday because so many people, frankly, were so anxious to see this movie, they didn't wait for the discounted tickets. They went to go see it on opening weekend. They went to go see it on the first Monday, a non-holiday, regular run-of-the-mill Monday. No matter how you slice it, this pick is coming in hot. $2 billion is a lock at this point. The question is, what day will it happen? Is it going to actually make it to $2 billion by the close of business Sunday this coming weekend? Or will it be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week before it gets over that hurdle? And then, of course, how much further does it go beyond there? It seems like $2.5 billion is all but assured at this point, unless something crazy happens. The real question is, does this movie have enough juice left in the tank to stretch all the way out to $3 billion? We've told you before, the last Spider-Man movie that came out grew a pair of legs that was 3.13x. If this movie does the same thing, then $3 billion is going to happen. And it's exciting to see it, even on an unadjusted basis, the first time we'll ever see a box office title reach that milestone. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you seen it? Did you like it? Are you going to see it? Are you going to see it a second time? And are you going to go check it out in IMAX this weekend? Let me know. What are your projections for Spider-Man out there? Take care. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.